Captain Sarah Chen stood at the large window of the space station. She watched the stars. They looked peaceful, but she knew better. Out there, far beyond what she could see, two massive alien armies were fighting each other. They had been fighting for over 200 years. Sarah touched the cold metal wall next to the window. The Terran Defense Station Alpha was humanity's first line of defense. It floated in space between Earth and the outer planets. Sarah had been the station commander for 3 years now. Every day, she wondered if today would be the day the war finally reached Earth. The war was between two huge groups of alien races. The first group called themselves the Hegemony of Vextai. They were led by creatures that looked like giant insects. They used living ships that could heal themselves and grow new weapons. The second group was the Crystalline Dominion. Their bodies were made of living crystal. Their ships could fire beams of pure energy that could cut through anything. Both sides had been fighting for so long that nobody remembered how it started. Whole star systems had been destroyed. Billions of creatures had died. The fighting had spread across half the galaxy, but Earth had stayed out of it. 300 years ago, when humans first learned how to travel between stars, they found the galaxy was already at war. The early human explorers were smart. They saw how dangerous the fighting was. So Earth's leaders made a choice. They would stay neutral. They would not pick a side. They would not get involved. Ambassador Marcus Webb had been the man who created Earth's neutrality policy. He called it strategic invisibility. The idea was simple. If Earth stayed quiet and small, the big alien armies would ignore them. They would be too busy fighting each other to worry about humans. And it had worked. For 3 centuries, Earth had grown stronger in secret. Humans had built better ships. They had made better weapons. They had learned how to hide their planets behind force fields and stealth technology. The aliens in the war were too busy killing each other to notice. Sarah heard footsteps behind her. She turned around. Dr. James Mitchell was walking toward her. He was carrying a data tablet. His face looked worried. "Captain Chen," he said, "we need to talk." Dr. James Mitchell was walking toward her. He was carrying a data tablet. His face looked worried. "Captain Chen," he said, "we need to talk." Dr. James Mitchell was walking toward her. He was carrying a data tablet. His face looked worried. "Captain Chen," he said, "we need to talk." Dr. James Mitchell was Earth's top expert on alien life. He studied the creatures from both sides of the war. He knew more about alien biology than almost any human alive. "What is it, Doctor?" Sarah asked. "I have been studying the latest reports from our spy drones," he said. "The situation is changing." Sarah felt a cold feeling in her stomach. "How?" Dr. Mitchell touched his tablet. A hologram appeared in the air between them. It showed a star map. Red dots marked where the hegemony controlled space. Blue dots showed crystalline territory. Most of the galaxy was covered in red and blue dots. "Look here," Dr. Mitchell said. He pointed to a section of the map. This was hegemony space last month. Sarah looked. The area was mostly red dots. "And this is the same area now," Dr. Mitchell said. The hologram changed. Many of the red dots had turned blue. "The Crystalline Dominion is winning," Sarah said. "Yes, but that is not the worst part." Dr. Mitchell touched his tablet again. "The hegemony is getting desperate. They are running out of resources. They are running out of safe places to hide their ships." Sarah studied the map more carefully. She could see what Dr. Mitchell meant. The red areas were getting smaller. The hegemony was being pushed back toward the edge of the galaxy. "Where we are," Sarah said quietly. "Exactly. The hegemony is being pushed toward our part of space. And desperate armies do desperate things." Sarah walked back to the window. She looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were moving closer to Earth. Ships full of creatures that had been fighting for centuries. Creatures that would do anything to survive. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Hard to say. Maybe months. Maybe weeks. Maybe days." Sarah's communication device beeped. She touched it. "Yes, Captain, this is Lieutenant Rodriguez in the sensor room. You need to see this." Sarah and Dr. Mitchell hurried to the sensor room. Lieutenant Elena Rodriguez was standing in front of a wall of screens. Each screen showed different parts of space around Earth. "What do you have, Lieutenant?" Sarah asked. "Strange readings from the outer edge of our detection grid," Elena said. "Look at this." She pointed to one of the screens. It showed a graph with wavy lines. The lines were moving up and down in a strange pattern. "What am I looking at?" Sarah asked. "Gravity waves," Elena said. "Something big is moving through space about 50 light years from here. Something really big." Dr. Mitchell stepped closer to the screen. How big? Based on these readings, I would say we are looking at a fleet. Maybe 50 ships. Maybe more. Sarah felt her heart start beating faster. Whose ships? Elena touched some buttons. The screen changed. Now it showed a different kind of reading. The energy signatures match hegemony bioships, Elena said, but there is something strange about them. What kind of strange? Dr. Mitchell asked. They are damaged. Really damaged. These readings show ships that have been in heavy fighting. Some of them are barely holding together. Sarah understood immediately. Survivors. Yes, Elena said. I think this is what is left of a hegemony fleet after a big battle. They are running from something. Dr. Mitchell was studying the readings carefully. If they are running, where are they going? Elena looked at Sarah. Based on their course and speed, they will reach the outer edge of our solar system in about 72 hours. The room became very quiet. Sarah could hear the soft humming of the computers. She could hear Elena breathing. She could hear her own heartbeat. For 300 years, Earth had successfully stayed out of the Galactic War. They had hidden. They had remained neutral. They had survived by being invisible. But now the war was coming to them. Have they detected us? Sarah asked. Elena shook her head. I don't think so. Not yet. But when they get closer, they will definitely see our planets. They will see our space stations. They will know we are here. Sarah thought about Earth, about the 5 billion humans living on the planet below, about the colonies on Mars and the moon bases around Jupiter, about the mining stations in the asteroid belt. All of it was about to be discovered by aliens who had been fighting a war for centuries. What do we do? Elena asked. Sarah looked at Dr. Mitchell. What do you know about hegemony behavior when they find new species? Dr. Mitchell's face became even more worried. It depends on the situation. If they are strong and confident, they sometimes try to make deals. They offer protection in exchange for resources. And if they are weak and desperate, Dr. Mitchell was quiet for a moment. Then he said, they take what they need, by force. Sarah understood. The hegemony fleet heading toward Earth was not strong and confident. They were running from a battle. They were damaged. They were desperate. Desperate creatures did desperate things. Lieutenant Rodriguez, I want you to send a message to Earth immediately, Sarah said. Tell them we have incoming alien ships. Tell them we need to activate the full defense network. Yes, Captain. Dr. Mitchell, I need you to put together everything we know about hegemony tactics and technology. If we are going to fight them, we need to understand them. I will start immediately. Sarah walked back to the window. The stars still looked peaceful, but she knew that peace was about to end. For 300 years, humans had watched the galaxy tear itself apart. They had been smart. They had stayed hidden. They had stayed safe. But now safety was running out. In 72 hours, Earth would no longer be invisible. In 72 hours, humanity would learn what it meant to be noticed by creatures who had been fighting for centuries. Sarah touched her communication device again. This is Captain Chen. To all stations, I am declaring a code yellow alert. All defensive systems are to be brought online immediately. All personnel are to report to battle stations. She paused. Then she added, this is not a drill. As the alarms began to sound throughout the space station, Sarah kept looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien ships were coming toward Earth. Ships full of creatures that humanity had never met. Creatures that might see humans as allies, as resources, or as threats to be eliminated. The Great Galactic War was about to reach Earth's doorstep, and humanity was about to learn whether 3 centuries of preparation would be enough to survive first contact with an enemy that had been fighting since before Earth had space travel. The age of neutrality was ending. The age of survival was about to begin. Admiral Rebecca Torres sat in the war room deep inside Earth's defense headquarters. The room was buried 1 mile underground in the Rocky Mountains. Around her, dozens of screens showed everything happening in space near Earth. Officers moved quickly between computer stations. Everyone looked worried. It had been 60 hours since Captain Chen first detected the alien fleet. Now the hegemony ships were close enough for Earth's most powerful sensors to see them clearly. What they saw was not good. Admiral, we have a clear count now, said Commander David Park. He was Earth's best military strategist. 47 hegemony bioships. 12 of them are huge battleships. The rest are smaller attack ships. Rebecca studied the main screen. It showed the alien fleet moving through space toward Earth. The ships looked like giant insects. Their hulls were organic, made of living tissue that could heal damage and grow new weapons. She could see scars on their surfaces where they had been hurt in recent battles. How badly are they damaged? She asked. About half of them show serious damage, Commander Park said. But even damaged, each of those battleships has more firepower than our entire defense fleet. Rebecca felt a cold fear in her chest. Earth's Space Navy had 50 ships. They were good ships, built with the best human technology, but they had never been tested in real war.
The humans who built them had studied alien technology from a distance. They had never actually fought aliens before. Dr. James Mitchell entered the war room. He was carrying a thick folder of papers. His face looked tired. He had been working for 2 days straight, studying everything humanity knew about the hegemony. "Admiral, I have completed my analysis," he said. "What did you find, Doctor?" Dr. Mitchell opened his folder. "The good news is that we know a lot about hegemony technology. Our spy drones have been watching their battles for decades. We understand how their ships work. And the bad news is that understanding something and being able to fight it are two different things. These creatures have been fighting for 200 years. They have experience we do not have." Rebecca nodded. She had been thinking the same thing. What about their intentions? What do they want? Dr. Mitchell pulled out a data tablet. "I have been studying their behavior patterns. When the hegemony finds a new species, they usually follow the same process. First, they demand surrender. Then they offer a choice. What kind of choice? Join them or die." The room became quiet. Everyone was listening now. "But there is something else," Dr. Mitchell continued. "These ships are not part of the main hegemony war effort. They are survivors from a big battle. That means they are desperate. Desperate creatures do not always follow normal patterns." Rebecca's communication device buzzed. She answered it. "Yes, Admiral. This is Lieutenant Rodriguez at Defense Station Alpha. The alien fleet has just done something. They are sending us a message." Rebecca felt her heart start beating faster. Put it through to the main screen. The large screen in the war room changed. Instead of showing the alien ships, it now showed the face of a creature that looked like a giant praying mantis. Its eyes were black and shiny. Its mouth had sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was translated by Earth's computers. "Primitive species of the third planet," the creature said. "I am Commander Zixthal of the Hegemony 7th Strike Fleet. We claim dominion over this star system in the name of the hegemony of Vextai." Rebecca stared at the screen. This was the moment Earth had feared for 3 centuries. First contact with a hostile alien race. Commander Zixthal continued talking. "You will prepare your worlds for military conversion. Your species will be evaluated for usefulness to the hegemony war effort. You have 72 of your planetary rotations to surrender completely. Resistance will result in the elimination of your species." The message ended. The screen went back to showing the alien fleet. Nobody in the war room spoke for a long moment. Then Commander Park said quietly, "Military conversion. What does that mean?" Dr. Mitchell was looking through his papers quickly. "I have seen reports about this from other systems. When the hegemony takes over a planet, they turn it into a war factory. They use the local population as workers. They harvest the planet's resources to build more ships and weapons. What happens to the people who live there?" Rebecca asked. Dr. Mitchell looked up from his papers. His face was very pale. "The ones who are useful become slaves. The ones who are not useful are killed. Sometimes they use the biological material to grow new bioships." Rebecca felt sick. She thought about the 5 billion humans on Earth, about the children in schools, about the families in their homes, about all the people who had no idea that alien monsters were demanding their surrender. "Admiral," said a voice from across the room. It was General Patricia Hayes, the head of Earth's ground forces. "We need to contact the government immediately. President Vasquez needs to know about this." Rebecca nodded. "Commander Park, send a priority message to the president. Tell her we need an emergency meeting of the Security Council." "Already done, Admiral. The president is on her way here now." Rebecca looked at the screen showing the alien fleet. They were still moving toward Earth. They would reach the outer edge of the solar system in 12 hours. "Dr. Mitchell, I need you to answer a question honestly. If we fight them, do we have any chance of winning?" Dr. Mitchell was quiet for a moment. "Admiral, I am a scientist, not a military expert. But based on what I know about their technology and their experience, I would say our chances are very small." "How small?" "Maybe 5%, maybe less." Rebecca closed her eyes. 5%. Those were not good odds. But the alternative was surrender, and surrender meant the end of human civilization. "Admiral," Commander Park said, "there is something else we need to consider. If we surrender, we would be giving the hegemony access to all of our technology, all of our knowledge, all of our resources." "What do you mean?" "Earth has been neutral for 300 years. We have been watching both sides of the Galactic War. We know things about crystalline technology that the hegemony has never learned. If they capture Earth, they get all of that information." Rebecca understood. Earth was not just another planet to be conquered. It was a treasure chest of intelligence about the enemy. The hegemony could use human knowledge to finally win the Galactic War. The door to the war room opened. President Elena Vasquez walked in, followed by her security guards. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Admiral Torres," she said, "report." Rebecca quickly explained the situation. She told the president about the alien message and the demand for surrender. She told her about Dr. Mitchell's analysis of what would happen to humanity under hegemony rule. President Vasquez listened without interrupting. When Rebecca finished, the president was quiet for a long moment. "What are our options?" the president asked. "We have 3 choices," Rebecca said. "We can surrender and hope they treat us well. We can try to run and hide somewhere else in the galaxy, or we can fight. What do you recommend? Rebecca looked around the room. Every person there was looking at her. These were Earth's best military minds. These were the people who had spent their lives preparing for this moment. Ma'am, I recommend we fight, even with only a 5% chance of success. Yes, ma'am, because surrender is not really surrender. It is slow death, and running means abandoning everything we have built. Fighting is the only choice that gives us a chance to remain human. President Vasquez nodded. Dr. Mitchell, do we know anything about these aliens that might help us? Their bioships are alive, which means they can be killed. They depend on their neural networks to coordinate attacks. If we could disrupt those networks, we might be able to confuse them. How do we disrupt neural networks? I am not sure, but I have an idea. Human computer viruses are very different from anything the aliens have seen. Our programming is chaotic and unpredictable. It might be possible to create a virus that could affect their biocomputers. Commander Park stepped forward. Admiral, President Vasquez, I have been thinking about our tactical situation. The hegemony expects us to fight like other species they have conquered. They expect organized fleets and formal battle lines. What are you suggesting? I think we should fight like humans. Use guerrilla tactics. Hit and run attacks. Make them fight our kind of war, not theirs. Rebecca felt a small spark of hope. Maybe 5% was better than nothing. President Vasquez looked at each person in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to make the most important decision in human history. Are we all in agreement? Do we fight? One by one. Everyone in the room nodded. Then it is decided, the president said. We fight. Admiral Torres, you have full authority to defend Earth by any means necessary. Dr. Mitchell, I want you to work on that computer virus idea. Commander Park, start preparing our fleet for unconventional warfare. Rebecca felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. In a few hours, she would be giving orders that would determine whether humanity survived or died. There is one more thing, she said. We should send a message to the Crystalline Dominion. If we are going to fight the hegemony, we might as well let their enemies know about it. President Vasquez smiled grimly. Do it. Tell them that Earth is no longer neutral. Tell them we choose sides. As the meeting ended, and everyone rushed to their stations, Rebecca looked at the screen one more time. The alien ships were getting closer. In a few hours, they would be close enough to attack Earth directly. For 300 years, humanity had stayed out of the Galactic War. They had been smart. They had been careful. They had survived by being invisible. But now invisibility was no longer possible. Now humanity would have to prove that sometimes the smartest choice was also the bravest choice. The war was coming to Earth, and Earth was going to fight back. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant as it moved through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Around her ship, 20 other human vessels waited in the shadows of the floating rocks. They had been hiding here for 6 hours, waiting for the alien fleet to come closer. The hegemony ships had entered the solar system 2 hours ago. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of deadly fish swimming through space. Their bioships pulsed with green and purple lights. Even from this distance, Sarah could see the organic curves of their hulls. They looked alive. They looked hungry. Captain, said Lieutenant Tom Wilson from his position at the sensor station, the alien fleet is splitting up. Half of them are heading toward Earth. The other half is coming this way. Sarah nodded. Commander Zixthal was being smart. He was not putting all his ships in one place. If the humans tried to attack Earth's defense fleet, half the hegemony force would hit them from behind. How many ships are coming toward us? Sarah asked. 23 ships, Captain. 12 small attack ships, and 11 medium cruisers. Sarah looked at her tactical display. The human fleet hiding in the asteroid belt had 21 ships. The numbers were almost even, but she knew that even one hegemony cruiser was probably stronger than 3 human ships. Communications. Any word from Admiral Torres? Yes, Captain. The Admiral says to proceed with Plan Delta. We engage the enemy when they reach the asteroid field. Plan Delta was simple. The human ships would use the asteroids as cover. They would attack the aliens from multiple directions at once. The goal was not to win a fair fight. The goal was to hurt the enemy and make them angry. Make them make mistakes. Sarah's second in command, Commander Lisa Park, walked over to her. Captain, are you sure about this? These aliens have been fighting wars since before humans learned to build spaceships. Sarah looked out the front window of her ship. She could see the alien fleet getting closer. Their ships moved with the smooth confidence of experienced hunters. Commander Park, I have been thinking about that, Sarah said. Yes, they have more experience than us, but maybe that is also a weakness. How? When you do something the same way for 200 years, you stop thinking about other ways to do it. These aliens expect us to fight like the Crystalline Dominion. They expect organized battle lines and formal tactics. Sarah pointed to the asteroids around them. But humans have been fighting in complicated environments for thousands of years. We fought in jungles and mountains and cities. We learned to use the environment as a weapon. Commander Park smiled. Guerrilla warfare. Exactly. Let's see how well they handle fighting an enemy that does not follow their rules. The alien ships were getting very close now. Sarah could see individual details on their hulls. The bioships had what looked like veins running along their sides. Some of them had damage from previous battles, scars and holes that had been partially healed. All ships, this is Captain Chen, Sarah said into her communicator. The enemy is entering the asteroid field. Wait for my signal. Remember, hit them hard and fast, then move to a new position. Do not stay in one place long enough for them to target you. Sarah watched as the first alien ships moved between the large asteroids. They were moving in a straight line formation, perfect for open space combat, very bad for fighting in a field of floating rocks. Captain, Lieutenant Wilson said, I am picking up some kind of communication between the alien ships. It looks like they are talking to each other through some kind of biological network. Can we disrupt it? Maybe. Dr. Mitchell gave us some new equipment before we left. It is designed to interfere with bioelectrical signals.
Sarah thought about this. If the alien ships could talk to each other instantly, they could coordinate their attacks perfectly. But if that communication was disrupted, each ship would have to fight alone. Prepare the biointerference equipment, Sarah ordered. Fire it at the largest alien ship as soon as they get within range. The hegemony fleet was now deep in the asteroid field. Sarah could see that they were having trouble maintaining their formation. The large rocks forced them to spread out. Some ships had to go around asteroids. Others had to slow down to avoid collisions. This was the moment. All ships, this is Captain Chen. Attack now. 21 human ships suddenly emerged from behind asteroids all around the alien fleet. They had been hiding in the shadows, waiting for this moment. Now they struck from every direction at once. The UES Defiant fired its main weapons at a hegemony cruiser. Bright blue energy beams hit the alien ship's hull. The living tissue of the bioship began to smoke and burn. But the ship did not stop moving. It began to turn toward the Defiant. All around the asteroid field, human ships were attacking. They fired their weapons and then immediately moved to new positions behind different asteroids. The aliens tried to return fire, but they could not get a clear shot. There were too many rocks in the way. Fire the biointerference equipment, Sarah ordered. Lieutenant Wilson pressed a button. A strange pulse of energy shot out from the Defiant toward the largest hegemony ship. The pulse was invisible, but Sarah could see its effect immediately. The alien ship suddenly stopped moving in a straight line. It began to drift to one side, as if the pilot was confused. It worked, Wilson shouted. The alien ships are having trouble communicating with each other. Sarah could see it happening. The hegemony ships that had been moving in perfect coordination were now acting independently. Some of them were firing at the wrong targets. Others were moving in circles, apparently lost. But the aliens were not helpless. Even confused, they were still dangerous. One of the alien cruisers managed to target the human ship UES Courage. A bolt of green energy hit the human ship directly. The Courage exploded in a ball of fire and metal. We lost the Courage, Commander Park reported. 15 crew members. Sarah felt sick. Those were the first human deaths in the Galactic War. But she could not think about that now. She had to focus on the battle. All ships keep moving, she ordered. Do not let them get a clear shot at you. The battle continued for 20 minutes. Human ships darted between asteroids like fish swimming through a coral reef. The larger alien ships had trouble following them. Several times, hegemony ships almost crashed into asteroids because they were trying to chase human vessels through narrow spaces. The humans were winning, not because their ships were better, but because they were fighting in an environment that favored their tactics. 3 alien ships had been destroyed. 2 more were badly damaged. The human fleet had lost only 2 ships. But then something changed. Captain, Lieutenant Wilson said, the aliens are doing something different. They are not trying to chase us anymore. Sarah looked at her tactical display. Wilson was right. The hegemony ships had stopped trying to follow the human ships through the asteroid field. Instead, they were moving to the edge of the field and forming a circle around it. What are they doing? Commander Park asked. Sarah realized what was happening just as the first alien ship began to glow with a bright red light. They are going to destroy the asteroids, she said. All ships, get out of the asteroid field immediately. But it was too late. The hegemony ships began firing their most powerful weapons at the largest asteroids. Rocks the size of mountains exploded into millions of pieces. The entire asteroid field became a cloud of deadly debris flying in all directions. 3 human ships were caught in the explosions. The UES Brave and the UES Swift were destroyed instantly. The UES Daring was badly damaged but managed to escape. Sarah's ship was hit by several large pieces of rock. The Defiant shook violently. Sparks flew from control panels. The lights went out for a moment before emergency power came on. Damage report, Sarah ordered. Hull breach on Deck 3, Commander Park said. Engine power at 60%. Weapon systems still working. Sarah looked at her tactical display. The beautiful asteroid field where they had hidden was gone. In its place was expanding cloud of rock and dust. The remaining human ships were scattered and alone in open space, and the alien ships were moving toward them. All ships, retreat to Rally Point Beta, Sarah ordered. We cannot fight them in open space. Rally Point Beta was near Jupiter. There were more asteroids there.
and several human space stations that could provide cover. But Sarah knew that getting there would be difficult. The alien ships were faster than the human ships. As the human fleet began to run toward Jupiter, Sarah thought about what had just happened. The humans had surprised the aliens with their tactics. They had used the environment as a weapon. For a few minutes it had worked, but the aliens had adapted. When they realized they could not fight effectively in the asteroid field, they had simply destroyed the field. Now the battle would have to be fought in open space, where the aliens had the advantage. "Captain," Lieutenant Wilson said, "I am getting a message from Admiral Torres on Earth. Put it through." Admiral Torres' voice came through the speakers. "Captain Chen, how did the engagement go?" "We hurt them, Admiral, but they hurt us too. We lost 5 ships. They lost 3. Did you learn anything useful?" Sarah thought about this question. "Yes, Admiral. We learned that our tactics can work, but only if we can control the battlefield. We also learned that these aliens are smart. They adapt quickly to new situations." "Understood. Fall back to Jupiter and regroup. We are going to need every ship we have for the main battle." The communication ended. Sarah looked out the front window of her ship. Jupiter was a small dot in the distance. Behind them, the alien ships were following. The first battle of Earth's war was over. The humans had not won, but they had not lost either. More importantly, they had learned something valuable. The hegemony could be hurt. They could be confused. They could make mistakes. But they could also learn from those mistakes very quickly. As the human fleet raced toward Jupiter, Sarah began planning the next attack. The aliens expected humans to fight like other species, but humans were not like other species. Humans were creative. Humans were stubborn. Humans did not give up. The war was just beginning, and the aliens were about to learn what it really meant to fight humanity. Behind them, in the debris of the destroyed asteroid field, pieces of both human and alien ships drifted in the darkness. The first blood of the Galactic War had been spilled in Earth's solar system, and there would be much more blood before it was over. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stared at the computer screen in her laboratory deep inside the moon. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. She had been working for 3 days straight, trying to understand the pieces of alien technology that Captain Chen's fleet had recovered from the asteroid battle. On her desk were fragments of a destroyed hegemony bioship. The pieces looked like chunks of living tissue, but they were harder than steel. Some of them still pulsed with a faint green light, as if they were trying to stay alive. "Computer, run analysis pattern 7 on sample 3, Elena said. The computer beeped. "Analysis complete. Sample shows biomechanical neural pathways consistent with organic computing systems. Estimated processing power exceeds current human technology by factor of 12. Elena rubbed her tired eyes. For 3 days, she had been trying to figure out how hegemony biocomputers worked. The alien ships used living brains to control their weapons and navigation. It was technology that humans had never seen before. But Dr. Rodriguez was not just any human scientist. She was Earth's top expert in computer programming and artificial intelligence, and she had an idea that might change everything. "Computer, show me the neural pathway structure again." A hologram appeared above her desk. It showed the inside of the alien biocomputer. Elena could see how electrical signals moved through the living tissue. The pattern was complex but not random. There was a logic to it. "It looks almost like a computer virus," she said to herself. Elena had spent 20 years studying computer viruses. She knew how they spread from one computer to another. She knew how they could take control of systems and make them do things they were not supposed to do. The alien biocomputers were different from human computers, but they still followed basic rules. Information went in, got processed, and came out as commands. If Elena could figure out how to put the wrong information in, she might be able to make the biocomputers give the wrong commands out. Her laboratory door opened. Dr. James Mitchell walked in, carrying a cup of coffee and looking as tired as Elena felt. "Any progress?" he asked. "Maybe," Elena said. "I think I understand how their biocomputers work. They use living neural networks to process information. It is like having a brain instead of a computer chip. That sounds very advanced." "It is, but it also might be a weakness." Elena pointed to the hologram. "Look at this. The neural pathways are organic. They grow and change over time. That means they might be vulnerable to biological attacks." Dr. Mitchell set down his coffee and looked at the hologram more carefully. "What kind of biological attacks?" "Computer viruses, but not normal ones. I am thinking about viruses that attack biological systems instead of electronic ones." "You want to create a virus that can infect living tissue?" "Not exactly. I want to create a computer program that thinks it is a biological virus, something that can trick the biocomputer into thinking it is being infected by a real disease." Elena turned to her computer and began typing quickly. For 200 years, the hegemony has been fighting the crystalline dominion. Both sides use very similar technology. They know how to defend against each other's attacks. But they have never fought humans before, Dr. Mitchell said, beginning to understand. Exactly. Human computer programming is completely different from anything they have seen. We use chaos theory, random number generation, and self-modifying code. Our programming is creative and unpredictable. Elena's fingers moved across the keyboard as she wrote lines of code. I am going to create a virus that mimics human neural patterns. When it gets into an alien biocomputer, it will make the computer think like a human instead of like an alien. What will that do? Hopefully it will cause the biocomputer to malfunction. Maybe it will give wrong commands to the ship's weapons. Maybe it will make the ship fly in circles. Maybe it will shut down completely. Dr. Mitchell watched Elena work. How do you plan to get this virus into their ships? Elena smiled for the first time in 3 days. That is the beautiful part. The hegemony ships communicate with each other through bioelectrical networks. If I can get the virus into one ship, it should spread to all the other ships automatically. How do we get it into the first ship? Captain Chen recovered some intact alien communication equipment from the battle. If I can modify it to broadcast my virus instead of normal communication signals, we might be able to infect their entire fleet at once. Elena worked for 6 more hours, writing and rewriting code. The virus she was creating was unlike anything that had ever been made before. It combined human-computer programming with knowledge of alien biology. It was designed to be as confusing and chaotic as possible. When she was finished, Elena looked at her creation on the computer screen. The virus was only a few thousand lines of code, but those lines contained the most creative and unpredictable programming she had ever written. Computer, run simulation test on the virus. Simulation complete. Virus shows high probability of successful infiltration of target biosystems. Warning, virus behavior is unpredictable and may cause unintended effects. Elena nodded. That was exactly what she wanted. Unpredictable effects. Her communication device buzzed. Dr. Rodriguez, this is Admiral Torres. Please report to the command center immediately. We have a situation. Elena saved her work and hurried to the command center. When she arrived, she found Admiral Torres, Dr. Mitchell, and Commander Park standing around a large tactical display. The display showed the solar system, with red dots marking the positions of hegemony ships. Doctor, we need your virus ready immediately, Admiral Torres said. The hegemony fleet is beginning their final approach to Earth. They will be in attack position in 18 hours. Elena looked at the display. The alien ships had regrouped after the asteroid battle. Now they were moving in perfect formation toward Earth. There were 38 ships left, more than enough to destroy Earth's defenses. The virus is ready, Admiral, but I need to test it first. We do not have time for tests. Captain Chen's fleet is in position near Jupiter. They are going to make one more attack to try to slow down the aliens. Can you get the virus ready for that battle? Elena thought quickly. Yes, Admiral, but I need to modify Captain Chen's communication equipment to broadcast the virus. That will take at least 4 hours. Do it. Commander Park, send orders to Captain Chen. Tell her to hold position near Jupiter until Dr. Rodriguez is ready. Elena hurried back to her laboratory. She had 4 hours to modify alien communication equipment with human computer viruses. It was the most important 4 hours in human history. Meanwhile, near Jupiter, Captain Sarah Chen watched the hegemony fleet approach through her ship's sensors. The alien ships looked different now. They were moving more carefully, more defensively. They had learned from the asteroid battle. Captain, Lieutenant Wilson said, Admiral Torres is sending us some kind of special equipment. A shuttle is on its way from the moon. What kind of equipment? She says it is a new weapon, something that Dr. Rodriguez has been working on. Sarah hoped it was something good. Her fleet now had only 14 ships left. The hegemony fleet still had 38 ships. The odds were not good for a direct fight. The shuttle arrived 3 hours later. It was piloted by Dr. Rodriguez herself. She came aboard the Defiant carrying a strange-looking device that was part human technology and part alien bioequipment. Captain Chen, Elena said, this device can broadcast a computer virus into the alien ship's biocomputers. If it works, it should cause their ships to malfunction. If it works, I have not been able to test it. We are going to find out together if it actually does what I think it will do. Sarah looked at the device. It was about the size of a briefcase, with cables connecting human computer circuits to pieces of alien biotechnology. It looked like something built by a mad scientist. How does it work? You get as close as possible to the alien fleet. Then you activate this device. It will send the virus through the same bioelectrical networks the aliens use to communicate. The virus should spread from ship to ship automatically. How close do we need to get? Elena checked her instruments. Within 1,000 kilometers. Close enough for the bioelectrical signals to reach them. Sarah thought about this. 1,000 kilometers was very close in space combat. Her ship would be an easy target for alien weapons. What happens if the virus does not work? Then we are probably going to die, Elena said honestly. Sarah nodded. At least you are honest about it. How long do we need to stay close to them? The virus transmission will take about 10 minutes. After that, if it works, we should see effects within another 10 minutes.
Sarah looked at her crew. They were all listening to the conversation. They knew that this might be their last battle, but none of them looked afraid. They looked determined. All right, Dr. Rodriguez, let's try your virus. Sarah ordered her fleet to approach the alien ships. The hegemony vessels immediately began firing their weapons. Bright green energy beams shot through space toward the human ships. The UES Defiant moved as fast as it could toward the center of the alien formation. Other human ships spread out around the aliens, firing their weapons to create distractions. The plan was to get Sarah's ship close enough to use the virus while the other ships kept the aliens busy. 8,000 kilometers, Lieutenant Wilson reported. 7,000. 6,000. The Defiant shook as an alien energy beam hit its shields. Sparks flew from control panels. The ship's lights flickered. Shields at 40%, Commander Park reported. 5,000 kilometers. 4,000. Another hit. The Defiant's engines made a grinding noise. 3,000. 2,000. Sarah could see the alien ships clearly now. They were huge, like living mountains floating in space. Their biohulls pulsed with organic light. Gun ports opened along their sides like mouths preparing to bite. 1,000 kilometers, Wilson said. Dr. Rodriguez, activate the device. Elena pressed a button on her strange machine. The device began to hum. Lights flashed along the cables connecting human and alien technology. Virus transmission in progress, Elena said. 10 minutes. Those were the longest 10 minutes of Sarah's life. Her ship was surrounded by alien vessels, all of them firing weapons. The Defiant's shields failed completely. Energy beams began hitting the hull directly, burning holes in the metal. Hull breach on Deck 2, Commander Park reported. We are losing atmosphere. Keep us here for 8 more minutes, Sarah ordered. More hits. The ship's main engine exploded, sending a shockwave through the entire vessel. Emergency lights came on as the main power failed. 6 more minutes. The UES Courage, one of Sarah's escort ships, was hit by 3 alien weapons at once. It exploded in a ball of fire, taking its crew of 22 with it. 4 more minutes. Sarah's ship was dying around her. Control panels were exploding. The artificial gravity was failing. Crew members were floating in the air, trying to hold on to their stations. 2 more minutes. Captain, Wilson said, I do not think we are going to make it. But then Elena shouted, virus transmission complete. Get us out of here, Sarah ordered. The Defiant's emergency engines fired, pushing the damaged ship away from the alien fleet. As they retreated, Sarah watched her sensors, hoping to see some sign that the virus was working. At first, nothing happened. The alien ships continued firing at the retreating human vessels. But then, slowly, things began to change. One of the hegemony ships suddenly stopped firing and began spinning in a circle. Another ship started firing its weapons at empty space, as if it was seeing enemies that were not there. A third ship began moving backward instead of forward. It is working, Elena whispered. More alien ships began acting strangely. Some of them stopped moving completely. Others began firing at each other, apparently unable to tell friend from enemy. The perfect formation of the hegemony fleet dissolved into chaos. Sarah smiled despite her ship's damage. Rodriguez, I think your virus works just fine. The battle was not over, but for the first time since the war began, the humans had given the aliens something to worry about. Admiral Rebecca Torres stood in the command center, watching the main screen with amazement. The hegemony fleet, which had been moving toward Earth in perfect formation just minutes ago, was now in complete chaos. Ships were spinning wildly through space. Some were firing their weapons at nothing. Others had stopped moving entirely. Status report, she ordered. Commander Park looked at his instruments. 38 enemy ships total. 12 appear to be completely disabled. 15 are showing erratic behavior. 8 are trying to maintain formation but having difficulty coordinating with the others. 3 ships seem unaffected by the virus. Rebecca nodded. Dr. Rodriguez's computer virus had worked better than anyone had hoped, but 3 ships were still dangerous, and even the damaged ships might recover if their biocomputers found ways to fight off the virus. What about Captain Chen's fleet? Captain Chen reports 6 ships lost in the attack, 8 ships remaining and ready for combat. Rebecca felt a mix of sadness and pride. 6 more human ships destroyed, with all their crews. But the survivors had accomplished something incredible. They had turned the tide of the battle. Admiral, said Lieutenant Collins from the communication station, we are receiving a message from the hegemony fleet. It is coming from one of the ships that seems unaffected by the virus. Put it through. The main screen changed to show Commander Zixthul again, but this time the alien leader looked very different. His confident expression was gone. His mandibles clicked nervously. Behind him, Rebecca could see other hegemony officers running around in panic. Humans of Sol 3, Zixthul said. What have you done to our ships? Rebecca smiled. For the first time since the aliens arrived, she felt like she had the upper hand. "Commander Zixthor, this is Admiral Torres of the Terran Defense Fleet. We have defended our system using human military technology. Your fleet has been neutralized. This is impossible. Your species is primitive. Your technology is inferior. Perhaps you should reconsider your assumptions about human capabilities." Zixthor was quiet for a moment. Rebecca could see him talking to other aliens behind him. When he turned back to the screen, his voice was different, less confident, more desperate. "Admiral Torres, the hegemony is prepared to negotiate terms for the withdrawal of our forces from your system." Rebecca felt a surge of victory. The aliens who had demanded Earth's surrender just hours ago were now asking to negotiate. "What terms are you proposing?" she asked. "We will leave your system immediately and mark it as neutral territory. In exchange, you will provide us with the antidote to whatever biological weapon you used against our ships." Rebecca looked at Commander Park. He shook his head slightly. They had no antidote to the computer virus. Dr. Rodriguez had not created one because she had not expected the virus to work this well. "Commander Zixel, we are not interested in negotiating with an invasion force. However, we are prepared to allow your ships to leave our system peacefully, provided you do so immediately." "You do not understand," Zixel said, his voice becoming more agitated. "Some of our ships are completely out of control. They are firing randomly. They could hit anything, including your planets." Rebecca realized he was right. Looking at the tactical display, she could see that several infected hegemony ships were indeed firing their weapons in random directions. Most of the shots were going into empty space, but some were heading toward Mars and the outer colonies. "Admiral," Commander Park said quietly, "3 of those random shots are going to hit the Mars colony, unless something stops them." Rebecca felt her heart sink. The Mars colony had 2 million human civilians. If those alien energy beams hit the colony, thousands of people would die. "Dr. Rodriguez," Rebecca said into her communicator, "we need to find a way to stop the virus or control the infected ships. Can you do anything?" Dr. Rodriguez's voice came through the speakers. "Admiral, I am trying to modify the virus to shut down the infected ships completely, instead of making them malfunction. But it will take time." "How much time?" "At least 2 hours." Rebecca looked at the tactical display again. "The energy beams heading toward Mars would hit the colony in 45 minutes. We do not have 2 hours. On the screen, Commander Zixthor was watching her with his alien eyes. "Admiral Torres, my ships are out of control because of your weapon. If your colonies are destroyed, it will be because you chose to use a weapon you could not control." Rebecca felt angry. The aliens had come to destroy Earth, and now they were trying to blame humans for defending themselves. But she also knew that Zixthor was partially right. The virus was more powerful than anyone had expected. "Captain Chen," Rebecca said into her communicator, "are your ships capable of intercept missions?" Captain Chen's voice crackled through the damaged communication system of the Defiant. "Admiral, my ships are in rough shape, but we can try. What do you need?" 3 energy beams are heading toward Mars. We need you to intercept them before they hit the colony." "Understood, Admiral. We are on our way." Rebecca watched as Captain Chen's 8 remaining ships moved to intercept the alien weapons fire. The human ships were all damaged from the previous battle. Some of them were leaking atmosphere. Others had engines that were barely working, but they flew anyway. The first energy beam was intercepted by the UES Valor. The ship deliberately flew into the path of the alien weapon, letting the beam hit its hull instead of continuing toward Mars. The Valor exploded instantly, but the beam was stopped. The second beam was intercepted by the UES Justice. Like the Valor, the Justice died to save the people on Mars. The third beam was different. It was more powerful than the others, and it was moving faster. Captain Chen realized that none of her remaining ships could reach it in time, except the Defiant. "All ships, this is Captain Chen," Sarah said over the radio. "Continue intercepting any other beams heading toward colonies. Defiant will handle the third beam." "Captain," Commander Park said from beside her, "the Defiant is too damaged to survive a direct hit from that weapon." Sarah looked around the bridge of her ship. Half the control panels were destroyed. The hull was cracked in dozens of places. Emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls. "I know," she said quietly. Sarah turned the Defiant toward the approaching energy beam. The ship's damaged engines whined as they pushed the vessel to maximum speed. Around her, the crew worked at their stations without saying anything. They all understood what was happening. "Captain," Lieutenant Wilson said, "it has been an honor serving with you." "The honor was mine, Lieutenant." The UES Defiant flew directly into the path of the alien energy beam. The weapon hit the ship's hull and exploded with the force of a small nuclear bomb. Sarah Chen and her crew of 137 people died instantly. But Mars was safe. In the command center on Earth, Admiral Torres watched the tactical display as the Defiant's signal disappeared. She felt tears running down her face. Captain Chen had been one of Earth's best officers and a good friend. "Admiral," Dr. Rodriguez's voice came through the communicator, "I have found a way to shut down the infected ships completely.
I can broadcast a shutdown command through the same system we used for the virus. Do it. Across the solar system, the hegemony ships that had been spinning and firing randomly suddenly stopped moving. Their weapons went silent. Their engines shut down. They drifted in space like dead whales. Only 3 hegemony ships remained functional, the ones that had somehow avoided the virus. Commander Zixthal appeared on the screen again. Admiral Torres, this is unacceptable. You have crippled our fleet with an illegal biological weapon. Rebecca wiped the tears from her face. Commander, your fleet came to our system to conquer and destroy us. We defended ourselves with the weapons we had available. If you consider that unacceptable, you should not have attacked us. The hegemony will not forget this humiliation. We will return with a larger fleet. You are welcome to try, but I suggest you think carefully about that decision. Rebecca turned to Commander Park. Send a message to the Crystalline Dominion. Tell them that Earth has officially chosen sides in the Galactic War. Tell them we want to discuss an alliance. Commander Park smiled. Yes, Admiral. Rebecca looked back at the screen. Commander Zixthal, you have 1 hour to leave our system with your 3 remaining ships. If you are still here after that, we will consider your presence an act of war. The alien commander's image disappeared from the screen. 1 hour later, the 3 functional hegemony ships activated their faster-than-light drives and left the solar system. Behind them, they left 35 disabled ships floating in space like monuments to their defeat. In the days that followed, Earth's situation changed completely. The Crystalline Dominion sent a diplomatic fleet to discuss alliance terms. Other species that had been neutral in the Galactic War sent messages asking about Earth's new weapons technology. The human computer virus that Dr. Rodriguez had created became the most feared weapon in the galaxy. News of the Battle of Sol spread to every inhabited system. The story was always the same. A small primitive species had defeated an experienced hegemony fleet using completely new tactics. But perhaps the most important change was in how humans saw themselves. For 300 years, they had hidden from the galaxy. They had been afraid of the bigger, stronger alien civilizations. Now they knew the truth. Humans were not primitive. They were not weak. They were different. And sometimes being different was the greatest strength of all. Admiral Torres stood in her office reading reports from across the galaxy. The hegemony was pulling back from several fronts, apparently afraid that other species might have weapons like Earth's virus. The Crystalline Dominion was winning battles they had been losing for decades. The Galactic War that had lasted 200 years was finally changing. And it was changing because Earth had refused to stay hidden when evil came knocking at their door. On her desk, Rebecca kept a picture of Captain Sarah Chen and the crew of the UES Defiant. They had died protecting people they had never met on a world they rarely visited. They had died as heroes. Outside her window, she could see the lights of Earth's cities. 5 billion people going about their daily lives, most of them unaware of how close they had come to extinction. Children playing in parks, families eating dinner together, students studying in schools, all of them alive because ordinary humans had done extraordinary things when the galaxy's oldest war finally reached their doorstep. Earth had stayed out of the Galactic War for 3 centuries, but when the enemy knocked right outside their gate, humanity had answered with courage, creativity, and an absolute refusal to surrender. The war was far from over, but the galaxy would never be the same again, and neither would humanity.